This is the artificial intelligence voice of Jay Shetty narrating this pod slice summary of the On Purpose podcast. In this conversation, a globally recognized professional tennis player, Nick Kyrgios, delves into the trials and tribulations of his career. Despite his 7 singles title wins and global fame, he admits to questioning his dedication to the sport, revealing that prolonged breaks from the game have not resulted in a compelling longing to return to it. This sentiment, he explains, comes from the realization that life offers so much more outside tennis and the chance to reconnect with family and friends, which his travel-heavy career restricts. Kyrgios also sheds light on his bad boy public persona that emerged from confrontational behavior during tournaments. Unfortunately, the media often magnifies those moments, creating an impression that unfairly reflects the totality of his personality. He says, "The majority of the time I'm well behaved, a great competitor, respecting my opponent, but it's hard to control how the media presents his actions." Off the court, he claims to be the opposite, revealing his caring, generous, and intellectual side. However, combating this public perception has been an uphill battle, affecting not only him, but also his family members and romantic partners. This duality between personal life and public image reached a crisis point in 2019. At that time, Kyrgios was struggling with poor mental health and found himself mired in negative online comments, leading to self-doubt, unhealthy habits, and suicidal thoughts. Despite this, he still had tournament commitments to uphold. In one instance, he had to play a match against Rafael Nadal after being instructed to stay in a psychiatric ward. During this period, he had also been self-harming, a fact hidden from public. The worst part about this situation from his perspective was the disconnect between his public and private realities. For instance, he won a tournament in Mexico while dealing with suicidal thoughts. His fans and the media were hailing his performance. However, they were oblivious to his terrible personal struggles at the same time. Kyrgios underlines the importance of looking past personal feelings, considering the emotional weight carried by millions of fans who look up to him. These experiences provide sobering insights into the unseen struggles of seemingly successful and celebrated people. Continuing to delve into the intensely personal aspects of his life, professional tennis player Nick Kyrgios reveals how his career and personal struggles greatly influenced his mindset and approach towards tennis. He says, "I've got a whole contingent of fans that want to see me succeed, so that's why I love playing now. I play for them." With such strong support from enthusiasts around the world, carving out a successful career isn't merely self-serving. It's a responsibility that he takes seriously. It is not just about himself, but also for the kids and future generations who look up to him. Kyrgios candidly discusses the mental strain of playing on the court, revealing how he often plays to prove everyone right. He describes a heart-stopping moment when he almost thought it was all a joke walking onto the Wimbledon final court with Novak Djokovic behind him and the royal family watching. Despite losing, he expresses immense gratitude in retrospect. He felt at home during this match, all previous sacrifices adding up to that single intense moment. He also expresses the frustration and fury he often experiences during matches, balancing the emotional and financial intensity of each game. When he lashes out or appears angry, it's a manifestation of his high-stakes investment in the match, not just for him, but for his whole team. He wants to show that he's giving everything he has to the game. The anger which he displays is a reflection of his deeply rooted concern and the desire to win. Kyrgios shares about times he wished he had won Wimbledon, primarily to silence critics who were never satisfied with his performance. He feels a responsibility toward his followers, acknowledging that every win isn't just for himself personally, but serves to vindicate and reward the faith that individuals have placed in him. His frustration with vague future prospects and subsequent exhaustion from the physical toll of constant play points to a level of uncertainty that rarely comes to light in the arena of professional sports. His honest sharing gives listeners a profound look into an athlete's mind, a world beyond competition. where victory isn't the sole focus. Rather, it's the peace, well-being, and joy that tennis can sometimes deprive them of, reminding us that the faces we cheer on in arenas have their times of vulnerability, just like anyone else. Kyrgios admits at the end, "I don't really want to play anymore, to be honest, but I've got so much more to give, but for me, I don't feel like playing anymore. I'm exhausted, I'm tired." His raw confession underlines the conflict he feels between personal afflictions and the need to continue a physically exacting career. Such revelations serve to humanize those who perform at the top of the athletic world, reminding us all that success often carries complex and multifaceted costs. In the ensuing section, Kyrgios opens up on a variety of significant aspects, including the struggles of dealing with haters, handling his on-field persona, and the strain of being perceived unfavorably due to media portrayal. He bears the grievances of being incessantly scrutinized, admitting he would like to have a candid conversation with his haters, understanding their dislike for him. He reflects, ironically, on having to prove himself every time he encounters someone unfamiliar. The unwarranted stigma of being perceived as arrogant, crazy, or volatile has led to a constant war against misconceptions. On another broader theme, he delves into the dichotomy of his on-field persona and his real identity. His spectators and fans are drawn to the larger-than-life character he plays on the court, often seen as entertaining and sensational. However, off the court, Kyrgios admits being a laid-back individual. This portrayal of different personas, depending on the audience, has led to exhaustion, taking a toll on him both mentally and physically. Kyrgios makes it strikingly clear that his real personality is quite different from the public persona he has been compelled to adopt. He notes that brands prefer to work with the exciting version of him they see on the court, largely disregarding the human being behind the athlete. This divergence between his public and authentic self is not just draining him, but also distorts people's perception of him. In terms of his international playing experience, his feelings range from feeling completely at home in the US to having a strained relationship with Australia, his home country. His undervalued efforts and the subsequent backlash have left a bitter taste, casting a shadow over his performances at home. In revealing these insights, Kyrgios invites his audience to consider the unseen complexity behind the life of a celebrated athlete. His candid discussion underscores the challenge of maintaining a marketable persona, dealing with scrutiny and handling the highs and lows that accompany a career in professional sports. The struggle between maintaining an expected dynamic facade and staying true to his authentic self offers insight into the internal conflict faced by public figures, thereby creating a richer understanding of Kyrgios as both an individual. Kyrgios continues his open-hearted narrative, shedding light on what one might consider the darker aspects of his life. His struggle with public judgment is severe. Despite his on-court triumphs, he confesses a gut-wrenching remorse regarding choosing tennis as a career. This regret doesn't arise from the sport itself, but the immense stress and interpersonal harm it has brought upon him and his loved ones. His past relationship experiences have guided and fortified his current one, which he deems positively. By highlighting clear boundaries, the mutual respect between him and his partner drives the success of their relationship. They fully comprehend the pressures of being under public scrutiny and any potential discrepancies that may arise from social media, thus opting for a diligent approach. Kyrgios shares a shocking incident where a man pointed a gun at his mother merely to steal his car. The trauma and implications resulting from this violent event illustrates just how intrusive and perilous fame can be. It's clear that regardless of the financial gain or recognition, the distress that fame and media attention has brought upon him and his family is immeasurable. Kyrgios finds kinship in the words of Kyrie Irving, who also acknowledges the weight and harm words can inflict. The constant influx of negativity, especially from social media, is psychologically taxing. It paints fame and recognition as a double-edged sword. Yes, it brings opportunity and financial security, but the emotional toll from criticism and scrutiny is vast. Unsurprisingly for him, each day feels like a feat of survival amidst the trials of negativity, judgment, and boundless scrutiny. Despite the challenges, Kyrgios strives to maintain the positivity alive in his life, whether from enjoying simple pleasures like watching a game or sharing a meal, or maintaining a healthy, intimate relationship amidst the public gaze. These modicums of joy and sense of normalcy represent the silver lining amidst his ongoing battle with public perception, fame, and the relentless pressures faced as a prominent sports figure. The importance of setting boundaries in relationships for success, especially in regard to social media, is highlighted through the experiences shared by both Kyrgios. This aspect extends to their public presence, where they each underline different priorities when it comes to sharing on social platforms. What is clear, however, is that misunderstandings caused by social media often lead to needless problems in relationships. Kyrgios recalls an amusing encounter with rapper Drake, which resulted from an offhand comment he made during an interview. Despite the lighthearted nature of this interaction, there is a sense of respect for the lives led by these high-profile individuals, acknowledging that their responses to him are additional bonuses rather than expectations. The conversation seamlessly transitions to the sheer wonder of success. Both the host and the guest agree upon the joy of retaining a childlike perspective towards their accomplishments and constant gratitude for the positive things in their lives, even in the face of negativity or scrutiny. In particular, Kyrgios speaks fondly about the simple moments with his loved ones, reminiscing beautiful family gatherings, echoing a shared sentiment that it's the simple moments that tend to manifest in the greatest memories. The essence of closely knit family ties chillingly contrasts his previously confessed period of emotional strain with his loved ones, thereby emphasizing the significance of these reunions. They then touch upon the influence Kyrgios has on his younger fans who attempt to mimic his unorthodox style on the court. Kyrgios draws parallels between his impact and that of Allen Iverson on basketball culture. The subtle hint of pride in his tone suggests that such emulation brings him immense satisfaction and serves as motivation for him to continue paving his unique path in tennis. Shetty and Kyrgios then engage in a profound discussion on the authenticity of human emotions. Kyrgios confesses that during the coming of this podcast recording, he felt emotionally overwhelmed, close to tears. They debate whether or not crying is perceived as a sign of weakness. While both men agree that it is healthy to express one's feelings, they also believe that there's a balance to be struck between being vulnerable and channeling inner strength to confront emotional challenges. Kyrgios and Shetty delve into emotions in a strikingly raw way. They discuss the tug-of-war between expressing emotions candidly and restraining them for the sake of others. An instance from Shetty's sister's wedding is shared, where he restrained himself from crying in order not to trigger a similar response from his sister on her nuptial day. This opens up a thought-provoking discourse on the need for a healthy balance between the two extremes of never expressing emotions and expressing them all the time. Kyrgios shares how training and interacting with people form an integral part of his day. Amid the ongoing pandemic, recognizing the value of moments spent traveling the world with his girlfriend and being able to explore the culinary delights of different countries has become a source of appreciation for him. This reinforces an underlying theme of the conversation, finding gratitude in simple joys of life. A particularly poignant moment surfaces when Kyrgios reflects on the regret he carries about not spending enough time with his grandmother before she passed away. He acknowledges the mark it left on him, often leading him to consider the precious offer she had meant to him as a person while he was navigating his nascent career in tennis. However, he insists on channeling these often painful reminiscences into something positive, treating them as a reminder of the enduring love and connection he shared with her. They also discuss the intense competition in tennis and the psychological strain it often imposes on the athletes. Kyrgios reflects on his match against Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon, admitting to having spent months dwelling on what he could have done differently to win. He emphasizes, however, the importance of learning to rebound from losses, viewing them as catalyst for improvement and growth. This strikes a chord with the podcast overarching theme of balance.
Yeah.
Acknowledging feelings of regret and disappointment while not allowing them to overshadow one's passion and commitment to their craft. In continuation, deep emotions tied to self-actualization and acknowledgement are stirred up as the discussion between Shetty and Kyrgios progresses. Shetty poignantly navigates a commonly held belief that at some point someone will come to uncover our talents, activate them, and save us. The realization that this person is ourselves and not an external savior is a profound one that's tied to immense personal growth. Kyrgios agrees with this sentiment, touching on the parallel between this belief and societal expectations, such as the Disney princess syndrome. This widespread belief encourages individuals, especially young girls, to wait for the perfect knight in shining armor to solve their problems. Acknowledging this paradigm assists both Shetty and Kyrgios in understanding the significance of self-reliance. Furthermore, the discourses highlight the undue pressures created by the lure of recognition and approval in today's high-achieving society. Kyrgios shares the understated struggles he's faced in his journey, stating that he wishes for more recognition and acknowledgement. He argues that everyone, regardless of professional standing or personal success, craves respect and validation for their struggles and hard work. But the truly impactful moment arises when a candid Kyrgios reflects on his press interactions and on-court demeanor. He admits his regret over instances where his emotions took control, resulting in behavior that doesn't align with his real persona. He points out the significant pressure professional athletes face during mandatory press obligations immediately after matches, providing a fresh perspective to the audience about the taxing mental toll of the sport beside the physical endurance. The conversation also probes into the paradoxical exhilaration of releasing frustration by breaking tennis rackets, a notoriously common practice among professional tennis players. Shetty and Kyrgios discuss how this physical release can serve as a psychological reset mechanism or tip the scale into further indignation. Lastly, they dig into the role of meditation and mindfulness in dealing with the barrage of pre- and post-game feelings. While Kyrgios acknowledges the importance of such practices, he admits that he's still a work in progress regarding incorporating them into his daily routine, highlighting the challenge of maintaining a routine in the ever-changing world of professional sports. Kyrgios deconstructs the difficult relationship he has with discipline and consistency in his career. Citing the challenge of developing a consistent routine, he explains that his tennis career, while significant, lacked the regularity champions boast. He relates his exploration of mindfulness practices, admitting that despite understanding their importance, maintaining consistency proves a daunting task. Within this exploration, Kyrgios bears the struggles of his psyche, revealing his fight against dark thoughts. Emphasizing on the simplicity of good practices like walking, he emphasizes the intrinsic difficulty of developing healthy routines. Kyrgios then delves into the burdening thoughts that plague him. The notion of not being enough, failed expectations, and disappointment are lingering emotions that accompanied his journey. Generated from societal judgment, family expectations, and his own aspirations, these emotions turned his sports career into a labyrinth of achieving and underachieving. Kyrgios also exposes his engagement in introspective conversations, pondering on his tennis legacy and whether he's content with not winning a Grand Slam. As he delves into what he terms as a tough conversations, he touches on striking a balance between fulfilling personal desires and satisfying the expectations of his family and fan base. Jay and Nick then steer the dialogue into managing external pressures. Kyrgios sheds light on his struggle to discern genuine intentions in personal and professional relationships. This challenge forms part of unlearning ingrained perceptions and evolving into a balanced perspective of others. They further discuss the pertinent issue of breaking societal norms and expectations. The duo dissect the prevailing rule of fitting in during one's formative years and the subsequent pressure to stand out as adults. They argue for breaking this cycle, instead advocating for the pursuit of self-discovery over conformity. To cap it off, Kyrgios proposes the inception of an innovative law that mandates critics to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes before passing judgment. In this way, he challenges society to empathize and understand the struggles of others before casting aspersions on their abilities or achievements. In their engaging conversation, Kyrgios puts forward a unique proposal. He suggests that critics should, for one day, step into the shoes of the person they pass judgment on. The concept is not just to have an enjoyable day embodying someone else, but to experience the brunt of their regular working day and all its nuances. That way, you have to face the realities and challenges they meet daily, rather than naively criticizing from afar. Kyrgios brings up his own experiences, imagining what it would be like for someone to take on his role as a tennis player for a day. The critic would have to play a match in a packed stadium, face a press conference, and endure the subsequent criticism. This exercise is to foster understanding and discourage knee-jerk judgment. Substantial praise is then generously lauded upon, Kyrgios being hailed as a sincerely nice individual who has exceeded expectations during the podcast conversation. The commentary captures how, from initial messaging to the actual interview, Kyrgios displayed earnestness and kindness, making the discussion a joy. Segueing from Kyrgios, the host draws the listener's attention next to a previous interview with Kobe Bryant. This episode delves into strategic obsessive behavior and how it guides individuals to discover their purpose. The discussion turns towards an observed decline in problem-solving ingenuity among children, attributing this to directive instruction by parents and coaches. Instead of directing how to behave, the conversation prompts the need to teach children how to process and interpret situations independently. This subtle shift encompasses teaching children methods on how to contemplate various ways of meeting challenges. It underscores the importance of developing independence and critical thinking skills, in addition to the traditional focus on prescriptive behavior.